Okay, so yesterday we made this in my first block. It was our first example of a bottle flower, and we did rounded ends. And then in second block we did one, that's this block, with pointed tips, because I thought it would be kind of cool. They both have 6 petals, and you could overlap them so that you'd have one behind the other, and they'd go in between the negative space. And you could even curl them so that the back ends curl forward, so the 2 pieces can interact. And in fact, we want them to. We want it to feel natural. And so think about how that's going to work. And your first one is a practice, and you can just try it, experiment, and go all the way out. And you can try curling it until it looks terrible, just to see how far you can push it. And so I'm going to show you how to do that again on this video. So we start with a soda bottle. Soda bottles are good. You can use water bottles. Gatorade bottles are kind of thick. They might not work. But the first thing you're going to do, make sure you've rinsed it out. You're going to cut off the label. Peel that off. There's very few things that we're going to throw away, but the label is one thing that we can throw away. And then this white part, we don't want that on there when we paint it. So get as much as you can off now, and then we can scrape it, and I'm going to try some Goo Gone and see if that will get it off. But by the time we paint it, we don't want any of that on there. Now, the first thing is, don't throw away the cap. You're going to need that. So save it, don't throw it away, but you're going to need, make sure you don't have any water dripping everywhere, so you can pour it onto a paper towel. And my whole class is here listening quietly. And so what I'm doing, I got to cut this end off, and it's sort of dangerous and not very practical to cut it off like this. So instead, if you pinch it so that it has a little corner here, so that you make a little hole, then you can get your scissors in there and cut off the end. And I'm going to go kind of fast so that we are not taking forever on this, but you'll take your time and do a good job, which is craftsmanship. And then again, I'd go in there, get any extra water that you can off. And then since this one has 6, I'm going to do 6 on this. But it doesn't matter. You could experiment with doing 4 or 5 or 6 or a million. Somebody's trying to do a chrysanthemum, and that, I don't know if you know what that looks like, but that has a lot of really skinny ones, skinny petals. I also thought next week, you guys, if we want to, we could get out the heat gun if you have some melting that you want to do besides just curling. And again, you would have to be careful with that because it gets really, really hot. So I split it in half, and then I split that one into 3, and that's how I figured out it was symmetrical. You can use a Sharpie to mark it off first if you really, really want to. You just would have to make sure that you get the Sharpie off before you paint it. So now I have this, but it still looks like a bottle. And we're doing found object transformation, right? You guys remember that? Mm-hmm. So we want to make it so it doesn't look like a bottle anymore. So we wouldn't leave these tips here, because then that still gives us a hint that it was a bottle. So to do the pointed ends, I find it's easiest to start at the middle of one of the petals and then go down. I'm going to have it a short point, but you could make it, you could curve it all the way down here even more. And again, I'll get rid of this white stuff later in another video. And this is the second video. We have one other one already posted. And meanwhile, I have a curling iron heating up. And I got 4 of them from Goodwill yesterday and already had 4. And I think it would be great to try a flat iron. If anybody wants to try that, you could bring one in if you have an old one. There was one at Goodwill, but it didn't work, so I didn't buy it. And everybody is holding off on cutting until so now it's a little bit more organic looking, right? And the only thing you really can throw away are these little shards that are left, but everything else, keep this, because you could end up turning it this way or this way and using it in the center of a flower, or somebody was making a rose in first block, so they had this and then they had petals kind of coming out of it. So save everything for now. And then to curl it, you get it on the end, but instead of just letting it go, you want to push it up like that so that it puts a little force on there. So if you find that you're not able to grab the plastic, and if you go too long, it might melt it too much. So start with less and then work on it. But you see how it's sort of like curling. It's really a lot like curling hair. And you could do the same thing if you wanted it less curly and you had a flat iron. I want these to stick out. I don't want them to be too curly because I want them to be seen from this one. So if they're curled up too much, they would hide behind it, right? So I want them to stick out a little bit. So here we are. So that's the basics, right? So I could just go like that and then place this in between like that, but I'm also going to show you how to curl these even more. And the other thing I want to show you is, do you see how these two pieces fit together like this? If I want this in closer, or if I wanted to layer a lot of flowers, which probably you will because a lot of flowers are more than just one simple one, we can take a hacksaw and cut this part off so that it will fit in there tighter, so it won't stick out too much. Because by the time you had like 4, it would stick out too far. So we can cross that bridge when we get there, but you want to keep that one because that's what we'll add onto the stem. Okay? So then here, I'm just going to show you some different ways that you could play with it. So we already did the curling this way. Like that. You can also curl it the other way. So then it's making it go up. You see that? So it's just changing the direction. I feel like there's a little water on there because I can hear it sizzling. So you don't want water on there. No. Avoid the water and the electrical objects.
Oh yeah.
So this could be a totally different kind of flower. Do you see how it's making almost like a little cup? Yep. And then you could have other little flowers that go inside of it. Now this one goes up too straight, so then I could go in here and bend it down a little bit first. So you can use the direction of the curling iron for good. So let me finish this one, and then on this one I'm going to show you. You can also twist them. So really, it's pretty much anything that you could do with hair. So you could curl it. So this is your day to experiment, research, all that good stuff, okay? And that looks pretty cool, right? That little curl I just did. So try different things, and I think that's all I have to tell you. Does that make sense?
It does.
All right. So video number 2 is now done.